So listen, there is a reason why they say that making your first million is the hardest. And after that, every other million becomes that much easier. And I can tell you this from firsthand experience. I made my first $1 million at the age of 18 and have multiplied it every single year since then. And that's actually what I was thinking about last night. And that's what
So here he used clips from his old videos as B-rolls with a black and white overlay and some textures to make it feel like a flashback. Notice that he's not using any stock videos here because he wants to keep his brand uniform.
what inspired me to make this video. I started thinking, how is it that every year making money and making millions becomes easier? And what was it that makes those first few years? Because yeah, I made my first million at 18, but
also,
that was after
like
4 years of
different
entrepreneurship.
shots.
So that is really the premise of today's video. I want to talk about the things that maybe aren't too fun, but will guarantee that you make your first $1 million. So real quick, I want to just discuss what makes that.
Also, you'll see that when he's using talking head, like to keep it fast paced and so that the audience doesn't feel bored, he has used two different shots at two different angles. One is a close-up from the left and one is the main shot, which you see here. Usually if the creator just shoots with one camera, we just zoom in, have a cut with the zoom in on the face in the same frame. But since he shot with two cameras, it's much more dynamic.
First million so difficult, just so you understand what stage of the journey you're at, and so that way you also relax and you enjoy the process and you enjoy the journey. You understand that this is a part of your process and it won't always be this hard. Now the main reason, the main thing you need to get over.
Okay, one thing here. So here you'll see the animation is tilted a bit like a 3D, giving it a 3D effect. But if you just play it,
won't always be this hard. And the main
from the 3D it just went flat. I think this was just a mistake in the editing part. It could have been a smoother one, or maybe it could have just stayed like the tilted 3D. But yeah, let's continue.
Main reason and main thing you need to get over is inertia. Inertia is the tendency for objects that are stationary to stay stationary. Let me put it very simply. If you were to go on a, let's say, 3-hour flight tomorrow, it would take your pilot about 5 minutes to take off and get you to cruising altitude. Now, with many hours to go, the pilot might check his gauges, and there, he's going to notice that he's at...
This is just some low polygon 3D model added, probably in Blender. I'm not sure. There are a lot of 3D softwares, but yeah. This is just a simple aeroplane 3D model added with a camera motion and some kind of text here.
Actually burned through 25%.
I think they could have found a better model for this. Like, we can get free models pretty easily. I'm not sure, but this model looks very low quality for some reason.
Of his fuel in just the first few minutes of the journey. But your pilot wouldn't panic, because this is inertia in action. Getting something like a plane moving requires an enormous amount of energy. But once it's up in the air, it's actually remarkably efficient. It's just sipping fuel to stay cruising. And that's why millionaires find it so easy to keep earning money. They live at this altitude. They have the resources and the capital.
Same here, he's using B-rolls only from his own clips. He's not using any stocks and stuff. So if you have B-rolls from your own videos, from your own stuff, it's better to use them. It keeps the brand more intact, I would say. Also, he has used some kind of an overlay to make all the B-rolls uniform.
To print more. But I say this in the nicest way possible. You're still on the ground. Getting you up in the sky is going to require a lot of fuel. So that's why in today's video, I'm going to show you how to overcome your inertia and get you to the cruising altitude of millionaires. Now, the first thing I need you to do is I want you to stop looking at the Musks and the Bezoses of this world.
So he's using this kind of a simple background with 3D models to denote the starting of any section of the video.
To look at the athletes, the Messis, the Hamiltons, the Federers. Now you might look at interviews with these guys, marvel at their achievements, and think that nothing will be better than sitting with them at a bar picking their brain. Let me tell you something, because I'm friends with a lot of these athletes. There is no one I would rather speak to less than them, especially in the middle of the season, because they are so monastically focused on their goals, battling fatiguing diets and suffering.
Okay, this is a cool shot. This is the classic Iman Gadzhi style, I would say. He uses some kind of a background, a normal PNG, probably using a puppet tool to animate it in After Effects. I have used the puppet tools in some of my earlier tutorials. You can just go and check them out, or if needed, I'll just link them below. So this is just a simple puppet animation with some background, some rain, and some good use of sound effects to make it more impactful.
through intense training regimes that they are literally the least interesting people in the world. They don't have the time or energy to dedicate to a conversation, and they haven't consumed a piece of popular media in months. You're not going to learn what they think of a film or a celebrity gossip. They are in their bed at 9 p.m. every night and treating their bodies like a temple. In other words, these people aren't well-rounded. They don't do moderation. And guess what? To make your first million, that's what's required of you. You need to remove the idea that you're going to be this perfectly well-rounded gentleman just dancing and sauntering through.
You see here, the music has stopped to make his voice more prominent and to make the words that he's saying more impactful. Sometimes it's better to take out the music so that your words have a more impact.
Through life. If you are serious about making real money, you need to accept that everything you do needs to be singularly focused when you're first starting out. And before this starts to sound too much like inspiration porn, I need you to understand that this isn't the ideal human state.
Also, instead of a simple zoom in, you'll see that whenever the editor does a zoom in here,
Sound too much like inspiration porn, I need you to understand.
yeah, there's a slight blur. It's definitely added in the post. So this blur, whenever you zoom in or out in a camera, it takes a little bit of time to focus. So this gives that kind of a feeling whenever you add a blur while zooming in or out. So this is a cool small thing that I notice here.
That this isn't the ideal human state. Humans need social interactions. Humans need hobbies. They need every element of the higher.
Probably created by AI or with the help of some, different aspects in Photoshop and all, you can create it. Or maybe it's created in 3D, I don't know. But yeah, this scene looks quite cool.
Hierarchy of needs fulfilled. But what you'll need to do to overcome inertia is so painful, so repulsive to the human condition, that most people never do it. You need to accept that for the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to be less well-rounded. You're going to lose friends. You're not going to learn that language that you've always wanted to, or you're not going to hit your personal bests in the gym. Once you think of your life like that flight, it's easier to understand. You need to sacrifice a hell of a lot of fuel now to cruise at that millionaire altitude later. And I can tell you this is something I personally experienced. 2017 and even 2018 when I made my first million, all the way even to, I'd say, 2019. Those 3 years between 2017, 18, and 19, I had no hobbies. I didn't see my friends. I didn't do anything. And the funny thing is, as my career progressed, I reintroduced those hobbies and I ended up making substantially more money. But for that beginning stage, I had to just focus. That new hobby I wanted to learn? No. Oh, coffee catch-ups with friends? No. Watching some new Netflix TV show? No. When you are first starting out, you just have to be in a season and a period of your life where you say no to absolutely everything and anything that doesn't have a clear correlation to your goals. Now, this video is all about the principles you need to apply to make money. But I also appreciate that there's a lot of you watching this right now wondering, okay, how do I actually make money? And that...
Okay. This kind of a tax effect is quite used in all of his older videos as well.
That there's a lot of you watching this right now wondering, okay, how do...
Okay, this is just some kind of an overlay, faded overlay here, dark overlay before the text is added. Then this kind of a text can be added in Premiere or After Effects, whatever you want. And some kind of a colon is there as well.
How do I actually make money? And that is why I launched Digital Launchpad. It is the only educational platform in the world created specifically for this reason. Inside of it, you have a selection of 10 programs at the moment. Countless ways to make money, taught by the best of the best experts in the world.
Okay, this is a scene. These are some very unique text animations. Like, I think you'll probably get a preset for it, but this handwritten kind of a style with some little bit of motion looks very cool.
And not only that, for the rest,
this is probably done using Photoshop or maybe After Effects, inserted inside a frame and then tilted a little bit to give the 3D effect with some kind of a gradient or background and all.
Rest of the year we have one new program launching.
Also the color scheme here, the red and black color scheme with a little bit of shine throughout the graphics to give that metallic finish, looks very premium.
Every single month, and you can get access to all of it for only $37 a month, or for less than 70.
Same here, weekly animations.
3 cents a day if you get the annual plan. So go ahead and check the first link in the description. I guarantee it's the best decision you make this year. Now, going back to my last point about distractions, if you look at one of the most famous figures in British history, the twice Prime Minister, the Duke of Wellington, maybe for those that didn't grow up in the UK like
the hands are animated using the puppet tool in After Effects. And the scene is probably taken from an image or created using AI.
I did, this means absolutely
Same
nothing.
text
But for
here.
anyone who's in the UK, you'll know that he is celebrated all over London with statues and pubs named in his honor, and his greatest victory was the defeat of Napoleon in the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. What most people don't know, unless you've read extensive books
Some
on him
Bebop is
growing up
added
like
there.
I did, is that he was actually a great musician. In fact, as a child, that's pretty much all he did. That's all he succeeded at. He was regarded by his teachers, his parents, and anyone he worked with as a failure. Then after being rejected for a marriage proposal and being told that he would amount to nothing, he did something that changed his life. He picked up his violin, he walked to his fireplace,
Oh.
he threw it in there, and he
Cool. This looks very cool. This is a different style and color scheme to the previous ones. Composited using different images and this fire clip, background sky, this child, this guitar. They're all separate and they're just animated in After Effects.
he watched it burn. Now, if you don't already know, I'll just let you go ahead and research his impact to understand his importance in history. But safe to say, the reason I'm here and speaking to you in English is because he put away his childish distractions. He realized that his violin, as much as he loved it, and it was great, and it was a fun little hobby, was that and that only. A hobby. It was not the domain in his life that he was going to go out and conquer and achieve all his goals. No, it was just a hobby. And to have that sort of insight is so special. You know, there's so many things in my life where they're hobbies, and I leave them as hobbies because I understand this is not my lane. And this, quite frankly, is a distraction. And I'm allowed to have hobbies just as long as my hobbies do not distract me from the main thing. So as you hear all of this,
Same here. At first,
just as long as my
it is the text comes in the background in a 2D way.
hobbies do not distract
Then it just changes into the 3D, like a tilted 3D thing. I don't know. I feel like if it is transition from the 2D to a 3D style, it will look more. Just instead of a cut, if it's transitioned, it will look more clean.
me from the main thing. So as you hear all of this, to me it's still slightly baffling that you still have TikTok or Instagram on your phone, unless you are using it to monetize somehow. Now listen, we live in an attention economy, and there are thousands of people and businesses desperately trying to get
Same that
yours.
Zoom
You got
effect.
Meta and TikTok who employ the same people who make gambling machines to program addictive qualities into their apps. Getting your attention back requires an incredible dedication to removing the distractions from your life. I remember when I was 14, I was flipping Instagram accounts. I bought a PlayStation, I was playing FIFA Ultimate Team.
Okay. This is a similar one. They use the color scheme, the blue color scheme, with those normal animations that we use. And you'll notice one more thing.
Dedication to removing the distractions from your life. I remember when I was 14, I was flipping Instagram accounts. I bought a PlayStation.
Yeah, the face. So whenever you're watching any talking head video, normally the viewers look at the face of the creator. So here the face of this child is also cut at the same place. It's placed at the same area as Iman's face. So the cut looks much cleaner.
I was playing FIFA Ultimate Team, and in fact I was actually even making money from FIFA Ultimate Team by trading players and then selling the coins on. But even still, I realized that this is holding me back from my greater ambitions, because I knew that it was a distraction. I knew that I would always rather be doing that than doing anything else remotely constructive. Now you might be looking around your room and wondering if you could do the same thing. I'm not telling you to smash your PlayStation right now. Instead, let's start small. Go into your phone and just delete any app that looks like it could take a second of your attention without giving you something in return. So that's right, Instagram, gotta go. Delete Twitter, delete TikTok. Now, if you are making money from these things, very different story. That's a topic for another day. And that's something that I'll be putting out a lot more content about in the future. But if you're on Twitter just because you like seeing random bullshit on there, how is that serving you? In life, you always want an equal exchange. So ask yourself, if you had a friend that all they did was take, and give you nothing in return, would you still want to be friends with them? Okay, cool. Well then, why are you on Twitter? Why are you on TikTok? Unless you're getting something back in return, why are you on these platforms? And by the way, I'm on these platforms. You might even be following me on these platforms. So it's not in my best interest to tell
Yeah, cool. Just a second.
on these platforms. And by the way,
Yeah. This is just a screenshot of his Insta, and then they're cut out in Photoshop in different layers. Then they're taken into After Effects and they're animated separately, all these layers, one by one. That's why they come at a different time. Also, some kind of a wave warp is added over everything so that you get this wavy motion.
I'm on these platforms. You might even be following me on these platforms. So it's
Then
not in my
it's
best interest to tell
shown
you to
the
delete
different
them.
clips are shown
But
on
just
the wall.
fucking delete them. And I hate to be the one to say this, but these distractions aren't limited to technology. If you're watching this, more than likely your friends are trying to invite you on Fridays to have little gaming parties, or maybe go get shit-faced at the local bar. Now, I'm not saying that you need to cut these people out forever or remove them from your life. Because for me, honestly, it's very good for the soul sometimes to just go and be stupid with your friends and have fun and just act your age. Especially for boys, it's just good to be with your guys sometimes. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you need to understand, for the next 6, 12, 18 months, they are...
Okay, I don't know how this scroll thing came up. The scroll animation. I'm not that good with animations, but yeah, this thing looks very cool. Probably if you get a preset for this, it's much easier to do.
Saying for the next 6, 12, 18 months, they are not going to be on the same wavelength as you. So you need to decide whether 7 hours of socializing and a hangover every week are really worth it to you right now. So as you're trying to get this plane off the ground, do you really want to do it in stormy conditions? Do you really want to do it with the winds working against you? Now is not the time for distractions. Now is the time for work. Unsurprisingly, this level of work and commitment is not sustainable. It's going to make you sick, and it's going to make you a pretty miserable person to speak to. So that's why you need to set realistic goals and a time limit to this dedication. And one of the most common mistakes I see people making when they start out is making wildly outlandish predictions and goals. You know, I'm willing to bet that if you scroll to the comments of this video, you'll see someone saying that they're gonna comment again in a year's time when they're on a yacht with me smoking a cigar. And to that gentleman, take this in the nicest way possible. You're probably not. Now, in 3 years, 5 years, maybe 10 years, that could be a totally different story. And by the way, constantly in my life, I have these crazy situations where people that I was watching 10 years ago on YouTube or watching their content think, oh, it'd be so cool to meet this person or hang out with this person. We now meet as peers. So this stuff takes time. You just need to understand that in the short term. In the next year, you probably won't become a millionaire.
Clouds,
and that's totally fine. Now, maybe your business does $1 million in revenue, but that doesn't mean that you're a millionaire. To me, what being a millionaire is actually having profited $1 million, as in taken home personally $1 million. That's step number one, or even better, having $1 million in cash. To me, that's what makes you a millionaire. So is it realistic that that's going to happen in 1 year? Probably not. Obviously, unless you have a pre-existing business, you have some pre-existing background, and you're just scaling up what you're already doing. But as a beginner, no, it's not realistic. And that's fine. But that's 1 year. What you can accomplish in 5, 8, 10, 15 years is beyond your wildest fucking imaginations. So to the people who have these wild aspirations with no timeline and realistic goals, they're forgetting the whole point of this video. That getting started is the hardest part of the journey. Take this as someone who's made hundreds, then thousands, then millions, then tens of millions. Your first 10,000.
Okay, another composition. This money with the glow looks very cool.
Is always the hardest, but once you do, you'll have overcome the inertia that binds stationary objects. Next, you need to set a realistic time limit to achieve these goals in. I'm not saying this to be kind or to say that you need to work hard for 3 months and then give yourself a week break. I'm saying this because it is a biological fact that no human can sustain this level of focus and determination for a prolonged period of time. I said it earlier, humans need friends, we need distractions. So when someone tells me that they've been head down working furiously for 2 years with no breaks, I know that they're lying. Now, how do we tie this all together? Well, you've probably heard me talk about monk mode before. This is a protocol that I developed in my own life almost 5 years ago at this point. Listen, I'm in a good position in my life and my business where I don't require enormous amounts of effort to keep things moving. But a couple times a year, I go into monk mode. I enter into a state of massive dedication and focus, removing distractions from my life and becoming hyper productive. And whilst this almost always results in massive advances in my business, I'll be honest, I do this because I also like taking time off. I like socializing with my friends and being silly, which is why for me, I go into these periods of intense monk mode, and then from there, I have no guilt or I have no issues or I have no worries or concerns about being social, meeting friends, enjoying my life. Now you need to enter monk mode for a different reason. And listen, while I could talk about this for hours, the truth is if you're looking to enter into a monk mode, just go ahead on my YouTube and watch all of the videos I've made on it. In this video, I just want to explain how it relates to the first step of your entrepreneurial journey. You see, earlier I spoke about how you need to remove distractions in your life. And
okay, here you'll see that here the window comes up with the background and
all of the videos I've made on it. In this,
there's a scroll down very smoothly. Normally if you scroll with the mouse, it is not this smooth. So what he has done here is, what the editor has done here is, he has taken the entire screenshot of the whole page, basically till the end, and just animated it smoothly in Premiere Pro. Like in Premiere Pro or After Effects, doesn't matter. There is an extension by which you can click the entire, this screenshot of the entire page, this go full page. This is the extension. So yeah, it captured it. It captured the screenshot already. I was just trying to test it. Okay. Now let's go. Let's continue the video.
Video, I just want to explain how it relates to the first step of your entrepreneurial journey. You see, earlier I spoke about how you need to remove distractions in your life and reduce your social commitments. So you might think, therefore, that this is all about subtraction. The truth is a little different. Monk mode only works when you apply it holistically to all areas of your life. You need to apply the
This is just images composition using Puppet tool, and a little bit of smoke is added in between the images to give it more depth.
The same diligence and commitment to your sleep, your diet, and your body as you do your work. For most people, that means eating less, sleeping more, and sticking to a simple gym regime. This isn't so you can get a six-pack at the same time as earning your first $10,000. It's to support your mind on the journey. Only by fueling it properly and giving it the things you need will you stand a chance at success. So ladies and gentlemen, today's video is really to remind you and assure you that at the beginning, it's hard. I'm not gonna sit here and lie that it's not, but that's fine. That's part of the journey. And I know that it sucks for a bit, and I know that it's not gonna be easy for a bit, but I promise you, listen to me, I promise you this, that if you just get the plane off the ground, if you just get it to that cruising altitude, I'm not saying that your life becomes incredible and you never have any worries or any fears, but it just takes so much less effort to sustain it and keep the plane going than it does to get it off the ground. So that's why if you apply the principles that I mentioned in today's video, not only are you gonna be able to get the plane.
This is same with video editing. If you are just starting out, it will take a lot of time to get to that quality of all the famous creators that you see. But once you get to that level, no matter what new effects, new style, whatever comes, you can just latch onto that very easily. Like once you learn the software, once you learn the fundamentals of editing properly, it gets much easier to develop new styles and stuff.
Off the ground, but you're gonna do it in a way where you don't absolutely torment and torture yourself every day because your expectations have been set clearly. So on that note, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, I'm watching from afar and I'm rooting for you.
Okay, bye.